Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time of day or night it happens to be, wherever you happen to be. For a while now, I spoke in my previous video about wanting to discuss social gospel and social justice and outrage warriors, the history of social gospel and social justice, and the distinction between social justice activists and the so-called social justice warriors or control left or outrage warriors. I'm going to put that off a bit because I wanted to get into a bit more with the previous video, and it just completely slipped my mind. And frankly, the previous video was long enough already without me going into this. So what I'm going to talk about here in this video is ideology and ideologies. And I think this will be probably a rather short video because there's not really a lot to say. But for a while now, I've been encountering people who, well, probably have listened to certain YouTubers without fully understanding the intent of those YouTubers in using various terms. One of the terms I've observed people not understanding is the term ideology. I've seen one fellow who, in his tagline on one of the social media platforms, has included the description of himself as anti-ideology or anti-ideology. Now, I believe this fellow has confused ideology with a specific ideology. Ideology is not one thing. There are many ideologies, and some are good while others are less so. We all have an ideology. Some of us even have more than one. Some of us have several ideologies. But wait, Gigi, you say, what is ideology? What does it mean? You say there are many ideologies, but what are they? Well, gentle listener, you're in luck on the first question, but the second question would take considerable time to answer, far more time than I would like to spend making a video, and I could not possibly name every ideology in the world, past and present, because, to be quite honest, I don't know what all of them are, but I do know of several. So let's take that first question. What is ideology? I'm going to turn to the English Oxford Living Dictionaries, the Oxford Dictionary Online, for the definition. Now, you'll see an archaic definition there, the science of ideas, the study of their origin and nature. That was an earlier definition. Nowadays, we generally refer to a system of ideas and ideals, especially one which forms the basis of economic or political theory and policy. It gives an example, the ideology of republicanism. And it will give a sub-definition there, the set of beliefs characteristic of a social group or individual, and gives the example, a critique of bourgeois ideology. So, in fact, there are more than economic or political ideologies. There are also religious ideologies and so forth. Wikipedia has several articles which talk about ideologies, and I've got a screen cap of one here. I'm just going to kind of scroll through it to let you see. There's anarchism with various subdivisions. Anarchist communism, which itself has several subdivisions. Anarchism without adjectives, which has a couple of subdivisions. Individualist anarchism, which there you have your anarcho-capitalism, or ANCAPs as some call them, or voluntarists as some of them call themselves. Anarcho-naturism, egoist anarchism, Freiwirtschaft, geo-anarchism, illegalism, and it goes on and it goes on. And then we've got other, autarchism, autonomism, which I believe is self-law, it looks like, crypto-anarchism, several other styles of anarchic And then you've got religious anarchism, Buddhist anarchism, Christian anarchism, so forth, social anarchism. Now we've got in one here, conservatism. Boy, I bet some of you guys didn't know that conservatism is an ideology. Well, it is. See, this is one of the things that we've talked about since at least the 80s. The distinction between being a partisan and being an ideologue. An ideologue is a person who embraces an ideology and doesn't necessarily vote for any given party, but votes for the person who supports the ideology they most agree with. So, and you've got several subdivisions of general conservatism there. Conservatism, conservative liberalism, whatever that is, cultural conservatism, liberal conservatism, libertarian conservatism, national conservatism, neoconservatism, paleoconservatism, reactionary social conservatism, traditionalist conservatism, ultra-conservatism. And we've got other, again, anti-communism, agrarianism, bioconservatism, black conservatism, Carlism, civic conservatism, and so forth. It goes all the way down through this list of various conservative viewpoints. So we've got regional variants, conservatism in Australia, in Canada, in Colombia, in Germany, and so forth. Now we come to another big main category here, environmentalism. Yes, environmentalism is an ideology, and there are several types of environmentalist ideology, ranging from anarcho-naturism, anarcho-primitivism, bioregionalism, bright green environmentalism, deep ecology, eco-capitalism, eco-feminism, eco-socialism. There you go, I'm an eco-socialist. Environmentalism, free market environmentalism, green anarchism, green conservatism, green liberalism, green libertarianism, green politics, green municipalism, green syndicalism, social ecology. Now we've got gender equality types of ideologies, and there's feminism. Now you can see right here there are several types of feminism, as I've tried to explain to people before, and this doesn't even get into the different waves of feminism, first, second, and third, and possibly fourth and fifth now. Even in a given wave, there has always been more than one particular perspective. Even in the first wave of feminism, there was more than one perspective, more than one ideology being promoted. And today we have, for example, radical feminists, separatist feminists, socialist feminists, eco-feminists, cultural feminists, lesbian feminists, liberal feminists, Marxist feminists, social feminism, and so forth. Now we got non-religious feminism, atheist feminism, religious feminism, and so forth. We've got LGBT as another one of these gender equality types of ideologies. LGBT social movements, transfeminism. Transfeminism is, of course, transsexual, inclusionary feminism. There are also trans-exclusionary radical feminists who are people that I will say are very much like fundamentalists in that they disregard science in favor of their dogma. Masculism is itself anti-feminism or masculism. Those are ideologies, people. So, I mean, you can call yourself anti-ideology, but you're making yourself look rather foolish and ill-informed. Liberalism is an ideology, a major type of ideology, and under that are a number of different subcategories that are ideologies in their own right. Classical liberalism, for example, which goes back to the Enlightenment and comes up through the 1920s when it kind of killed itself, basically, and would have ended capitalism at the time had it not been for subsequent things that came along. Georgism, green liberalism, individualism, liberalism, liberal democracy, liberal feminism, liberal progressive, liberal socialism, market liberalism, national liberalism, all these different progressivism, republicanism, social liberalism, all of these are forms of liberalism. Libertarianism is itself an offshoot of liberalism. So are the various ideologies that fall under the heading libertarian socialism. So you have anarcho-communists, anarcho-syndicalists, again, autonomism. Now that really looks to me like it means self-law. Auto comes from the Greek autos, which means self, and nomos is the Greek word for law. It reminds me very much of a word antinomianism, which we use in ethical discussions, in ethical philosophy. Antinomianism means lawlessness, basically. It's a belief that there should be no law and so forth. Collectivist anarchism, communalism, communization, council communism, and so forth and so on. We've got other agorism, bleeding heart libertarianism, Christian libertarianism, civil libertarianism. There you go. I'm a civil libertarian. You see, now I've already identified two distinct ideologies which I embrace. I am an eco-socialist, that is to say, I believe in a cooperative commonwealth. I prefer to call myself a tribalist, but eco-socialist is probably the most accurate term in today's discussions of that particular economic viewpoint. Tribalism or eco-socialism, the cooperative commonwealth, advocates for a cooperative economy, not a collectivist communist economy, but an economy in which people cooperate with one another in a society, in a community. We've got right libertarianism also there. You see a variety of those, including objectivism, which is Ayn Rand's little pet pseudo-philosophy. There you see voluntarism. I don't know why they've listed it differently, separately from anarcho-capitalism, because from my understanding, they're essentially the same thing. Okay, now we've got nationalism as a broad category of ideologies, and under that we have fascism, and under that we have a variety of types of fascism. Austro-fascism, which is Austrian, Chilean fascism, there you've got Pinochet, clerical fascism, expansionist nationalism, integral nationalism, phalangism fascism, Italian fascism, Iron Guard, Japanese fascism, Metaxism, Nazism, national anarchism, neo-fascism, neo-Nazism, Rexism, Strasserism, third position, which you may hear me talk about this at some point in time when I discuss the neoliberals who took over the Democratic Party following the 1988 election, because they talked about what they called third way, which was embracing right-wing economics while still trying to be socially liberal. And so, in essence, they became a sort of what the Libertarian Party claims to be, or so they claim themselves. And it goes on. And then you've got other forms of nationalism: civic nationalism, diaspora nationalism, nationalism, pan-nationalism, patriotism, religious nationalism. All of these are ideologies, people. Now you've got these other things: African socialism, anti-fascism, Arab socialism, corporatism, irredentism, left-wing nationalism, national anarchism. All of these are different kinds of nationalism, nationalist ideologies. And there are, of course, regional variants: Baathism, Bengali nationalism, Brazilian integralism, and so on and so forth. You've got religious nationalism and several types of that, several different ideologies that fall under that. Unification movements, several different ideologies which fall under that. Zionism, again, several different ideologies. Then you have another big broad category: religious ideologies. And so, for example, it gives you Buddhism as a big main type, and it gives Buddhist anarchism, Buddhist socialism. You've got Christianity. You've got, under that, you have a variety of things: Caesaropapism, Christian anarchism, Christian communism, Christian democracy, Christian feminism, Christian left, Christian right, Christian socialism, Christian libertarianism, Christian reconstructionism, oh boy, Christian Zionism, Christofascism, clerical fascism, dominionism, liberation theology, political Catholicism, popularismo, ultramontanism, and you've got general religious feminism, religious socialism, theocracy. You've got Hinduism, and then you've got Hindu nationalism, Hindutva, Islam, several ideologies under that. And most of these have more or less political and or social and or economic aspect to them. So you see anarchism, democracy, socialism, fundamentalism, and so forth. And fundamentalism is, of course, a distinctly religious ideology, but there are fundamentalism exists in, as far as I know, every religion, and also sometimes in things which are not religious. You've got Judaism as another big broad category, and Mormonism and Sikhism. And okay, then you've got the big category here again, like nationalism and liberalism and fascism. You've got a category called socialism, and under that, there's a big broad category called communism, and under that it gives several ideologies, ranging from anarchist communism to world communism, stateless communism, left communism, national communism, primitive communism, religious communism, and so forth. Then you've got other types of socialism besides communism. You've got pancasila and socialism. You've also got libertarian socialism, and there are several types of that as well. Democratic confederalism, Gandhian economics, guild socialism, libertarian socialism, revolutionary syndicalism, zapatismo. You've got libertarian Marxism. And you go through a list of different ideologies there. Social anarchism, several ideologies there. Marxism itself, several ideologies. Leninism, several ideologies. And they break down into things like Guevarism, followers of Che Guevara, Ho Chi Minh thought, Bolshevism, Trotskyism, of course. And you've got libertarian Marxism, which include things like anti-Leninism, libertarian Marxism, Luxemburgism, and so forth. You've got revisionism, which includes Austro-Marxism, Euro-communism, platformism, revisionism, possibilism. You've got reformist socialism, which includes Bernsteinism. You've got democratic socialism, which includes Austro-Marxism, Bernsteinism, democratic socialism, Fabianism, reformism, revisionism. Now, Fabian socialism is something that the John Birch Society used to talk about a lot in the 50s and 60s and probably into the 70s. They said that Fabian socialism was creeping socialism, that it starts off as a sort of a blend between capitalism and communism and slowly creeps further and further towards communism. I don't know about that. But anyway, and other types of socialism, quotaism, socialist feminism, three principles of the people, religious socialism, again, Buddhist socialism, Christian socialism, Islamic socialism. I'm not going to go through this entire list, okay? But the point is, there are a wide variety of ideologies. Some of them are political, some of them are social, some of them are economic, some of them are religious. The list goes on and on and on. So, you know, if you want to call yourself anti-ideology, you're talking out of your butt, man. You're not anti-ideology. You're anti a specific ideology, and probably based on what I think you're talking about, because I'm familiar with that particular YouTuber as well, I think you're talking about the third wave feminism and its conflation with, and perhaps identity with, the so-called social justice warriors, or control left, or as Liana Kersner calls them, and I think I'm going to start referring to them henceforth, outrage warriors, because they're not really about social justice. There are plenty of people who are pro-social justice who don't have any tolerance for the stupidity and authoritarianism and neo-Puritanism of the so-called social justice warriors. And those people don't really care about social justice. They are interested in an authoritarian imposition of their viewpoints on everyone else, and that's not really what social justice is about. Now, as I said in my previous video, I intended to do a video here soon, not this morning, but soon, wherein I will discuss the history of the social gospel, which is a Protestant concept, and social justice, which was originally a Catholic concept. Their origins and their history, and the distinction between social justice as it actually is and the so-called social justice warriors. Now, I don't think it's appropriate to call them control left either, because I'm not really sure that they're leftists. Some of them almost certainly are. But a lot of these people who are raging over Trump getting elected and Hillary not getting elected, I can't imagine anyone who's an actual leftist supporting Hillary Clinton because she is a neoliberal corporatist. And as I've said before, that's about as far from left as you can get. Corporatism is one of the three far-right economic perspectives or ideologies, if you will. There's fascism, which is a sort of a marriage between corporations and government, with government holding more power. There's the state capitalism of Stalin and Mao, for example, which is the state basically replaces the landlord and the factory owner. You still have capitalism, but instead of having all these individuals owning it, the land that you live, the house that you rent, and so forth, and the factory where you work, the state owns them all. So the state is, meet the new boss, same as the old boss, as the Who famously sang. You also have the third one is neoliberalism or corporatism, in the sense that now fascism or Nazism, which is a type of fascism, is a nationalist thing. A type of corporatism is a blending of political power with corporate power, with the state still having the most power. In the case of Stalinism and Maoism, you have an international thing where they want to bring this ideal that they have to the rest of the world. So they had, for example, Comintern, the international communism thing. That was all not communism, because in communism everything is held collectively, and in state capitalism the state holds it. Now in corporatism, neoliberal corporatism, what you have eventually, the result of this, if it were carried out to its ultimate conclusion, would be corporations, multinational corporations, global corporations, would replace national governments, and we would all be, consumers instead of citizens, and wage slaves instead of employees. But anyway, so there you have some discussion of various ideologies. You have a definition of ideology itself, and so I'm gonna call it quits at this point. For this video, I'm gonna beam up to my V11 Stormbird, and I'm going to warp out. So until next time, have fun, but stay safe.